In tonight's episode, we discuss the backstory behind this unnamed, unknown, but yet very mysterious and very unique woman here. It's also time for The Adipose vs. Lady Comstock Part 3, and we discuss some of the different kind of types of poltergeists that there are and which version she fits the best. And also the plotline finally starts to unweave itself as we return back to our old office, and this time exit via a different door, and we'll discuss the symbolism of that. This is Bioshock Explained. Well, greetings and welcome back to Bioshock Explained. We are now on part 22 and approaching the kind of finale at some point. As always, the purpose of this series is to explain and dissect the plotline, so if you haven't yet played through the game yourself or watched someone else's full playthrough, you might wish to do that first, as there will be spoilers from the very start. Right, as we have just started a new section, let's make sure we're all in good condition. Before we get too far in today's video, I want to have a quick chat about something I missed out from last week's video, which is all to do with this unusual house here. I'm sure most of you remember this, but there's a big burning house with a woman inside, except she's not quite a normal woman. If you watch her carefully, she flickers, almost as if she's kind of trapped between the tears like some of the other people. Unfortunately, there's no dialogue. When she does speak, she doesn't talk to you. You can't interact with her in any way, and also there doesn't seem to be any kind of like plot line behind what is going on with her. She seems to be clearing up a room which is on fire, which that would imply to me that she's in another universe, or she's or she thinks she's in another universe where the room still needs tidying or something like that. But at the same time, all of the other people we've seen that were half dead, I don't think they flickered in the same way. However, she is vulnerable. And if you shoot her, then she will die. But unlike everyone else in the game, you cannot loot her in any way. If you've got any ideas or theories about this particular lady, do let me know in the comments. Got a few things, got loads to discuss this video, as always, but I've got a few kind of corrections or kind of like further expositions from previous videos. Money!
You hold on to this.
I'm gonna hold on to that, and I'm never gonna let it go. Never, ever, ever. In fact, let's get some more cash. Flying shot there. How are we doing on cash? 1,900. Not bad, not bad. In fact, that's probably enough to get some upgrades. Anyway, so let me get the money before I forget. Money. So thanks to your wonderful comments from in the previous videos. I recorded 3 last week, and I'm planning on doing another few this weekend. And thanks to your feedback, obviously it helped my understanding, which will hopefully help your understanding. But I had a little discussion about the founding fathers last time. I said I was watching this kind of like pro-atheist documentary. I kind of love that kind of religious stuff, and was kind of looking at kind of like pro-theist, pro-atheist stuff. The great debates, and I think I said that the founding fathers were atheists. I think I had slightly misunderstood or misremembered. I don't believe that to be the case, and thank you for correcting me on that one. I don't think they were atheists, but they were certainly kind of anti-organised religion. Let me just. I think the one I wanted here was the. Oh, I've already got the sender one. In that case, I've just got loads of extra money. Yes, I don't think they are kind of anti-God as such, but certainly anti-organised religion. So it is still kind of going against their beliefs for Comstock to kind of put them in this as part of kind of his faith, or his very, very ultra-organised kind of city of religion. But perhaps I went too far before, so thank you for correcting me on that. I never really find the hand cannon particularly slow at reloading, so rather loath to kind of spend the money on that one. Let's have a look. 1, 2. It's nothing. It's nothing.
He's got a flak cannon.
Who's got a flak cannon? I can't see anyone. Oh, hello. Incidentally, guys, if you missed it, I hit my 5,000 subscriber mark a couple of days ago, and put up a little video to say thank you to everyone that has supported me in the channel and watched my videos and so on. And I just thought I would extend that thank you in this set of videos, as well, as this has been a big part of the channel for the last month or so. And in that video, I did ask for some suggestions for future Let's Plays and things like that as well. I'm trying to avoid doing Let's Plays that are just along the lines of let's just play through a game normally, especially kind of blind Let's Plays to an extent, because I think there's enough of them out there already. Like, I could do them, but I think I'd rather kind of keep myself a little bit unique. So I'm thinking maybe strategic Let's Plays or something where there's kind of like an angle to debate a little bit like this one. And if you've got any suggestions, please do head over to that 5,000 subscriber video, and I'd love to hear your ideas over there. Now, in addition, in a previous video, I was chatting about the difference between the male and the female Lutece, if you remember, and we were discussing the reasons why what the male Lutece might feel kind of grief and remorse. Oh, hang on. I'm being chatted.
Anyone who knew the truth was better dead than alive.
I'm not even his daughter. I'm just some specimen to be poked and prodded.
No, you are not. Elizabeth, listen to me. What you've been through, ain't nobody in the world deserves that.
Booker.
We are getting out of here. You got it? You're never gonna have to look back.
This is always the point of the game where I think it's rather a little bit unclear what our Booker's motivations are, because he obviously originally just wants to take her back to, I think, New York to clear his debt, but he starts talking very earnestly around this point in the game that he's going to free her, he's going to save her, he's going to take her wherever. The implication there being he's going to take her to Paris or take her to freedom, but I guess that that's never really put to the test. And I'm about to get shot, so... So back to the male Lutece for a minute. We've been discussing his motivations. Why, out of two identical people, have we got one person who is completely indifferent to the plight of Elizabeth, Anna, and the world, and one that is very much concerned in terms of saving it? Okay, we'll discuss it after this bit of dialogue.
Kill you both. I know you hate me for not being your daughter. And I hated you for not being my mother.
Right, it's time for Adipose versus the Siren bot. What, 3? Is this the third battle we're on now? Well, similar tactics to before. Hopefully they'll work. Trying to get from a distance, picking off any soldiers that get near, and with a maximum damage sniper rifle boosted up. We're going to try and hit some headshots. Yeah, so Lutece, one of you guys suggested in one of the comments on the other videos that the reason the male Lutece is more sympathetic is because he's the one from the universe where Anna and Elizabeth originally came from. He was the one that was part of the conspiracy. He kind of blackmailed or bribed Booker into giving up his child. So maybe he feels a greater sense of responsibility for what has happened, especially with that idea of parental instinct that we were talking about in the last video or the one before. Maybe he has formed some sort of attachment to Anna or Elizabeth, and maybe even Booker to an extent. But either way, perhaps one of the reasons that he has this kind of moral edge to him is that he was part of that kind of more kind of human interaction part of the plotline, whereas the female Lutece was just kind of tinkering her with her machines, sending little Morse codes here or there, and of course she would have had Comstock breathing down her ear all the time as well, so she would have been there for all the propaganda and the persuasion. She would have seen Columbia being created. Of course, she actually created Columbia, whereas as far as we know, that none of that took place in the male Lutece's universe at all. We know he had the experiments with the Lutece field, we know he was a brilliant scientist, but there was no kind of invention of city there, because the only reason the city was there was because Comstock was in that universe, and he was funding the creation of this city. But as we are busy restocking, as we almost got wiped out there, talking about this siren, I've had an interesting message from. Sorry, let me get the names correctly. From Cypher666, who's been a regular commenter on these videos, and thank you so much for that. And we've been having a little discussion about what type of ghost Lady Comstock actually could be, because obviously we talked about in the previous videos. You know, is she part of? Is she a ghost? Is she a part of Elizabeth's imagination? Is she just kind of an alive and dead Lady Comstock kind of combined in some way? But Cypher's been kind of telling me that there's actually even more types of ghost than that. There are ghosts which are watchers that kind of look over the world and kind of make sure that everything's kind of going as it should do. There are intelligent hauntings which are like. Oh, I think we might have taken her down. Mwahaha. Okay, we shall discuss types of ghost a little bit further after watching this rather poignant piece of dialogue.
Comstock used me to bring you back, but I brought back a version of you from the reality that I had built up in my own head. He pretended to love you, like he pretended to love me. I am not your husband's bastard. I am his victim. My days of victimhood are done. We must forgive each other, because there's one far worse than you or I.
The prophet killed me
Because you wouldn't keep his secret about me.
If that's so, then why am I alive?
Not in this world. Maybe this is you in another world where you never meet him.
Or where I saved him?
I don't know. Is that possible?
Find out, child. Find out.
Okay. Thank you.
So the Lady Comstock story arc is complete. Elizabeth kind of makes peace with her mother. It's all to do with those tears we found as well, because we found the tears. The Lady Comstock ghost was kind of able to piece together her real murder, and therefore she realises she doesn't need to blame us and things like that. And of course, Elizabeth does confess that she's kind of recreated Comstock slightly in a way that she wasn't supposed to be. So a lot of the anger and the vengeance and stuff were kind of things that the evil side were things that Elizabeth put there, which again actually takes us back to that debate we had a few videos ago about is Elizabeth actually just showing tears to other universes, or is she actually creating them as well? Because certainly in this context with Lady Comstock, she seems to be creating Lady Comstock far more than she is just kind of moving her around, or maybe perhaps it's a combination of the two. Now I am going to go and stock up before we go into Comstock House, as I seem to remember that is a bit of the game where ammo gets incredibly short. In fact, I seem to remember in my first playthrough, this might be the next section we'll have to see, but I seem to remember my first playthrough I spent most of my time kind of running around with no ammo at all. Well, you'd better give it to me then, girl. I would actually quite like, now we're past the old siren, I would quite like my carbine back, if I could find one. But I think we only got pistols and machine guns around here. While I'm on the topic of searching for cool things on the floor and getting new little things, my internet is hopefully going to be upgraded this week, which will give me a far faster download rate. But what I'm actually after is the upload rate for obviously these videos that you've been watching, which does give me the possibility of uploading longer videos, possibly an hour in length rather than half an hour. I quite like the half an hour format, but if you have any thoughts on the matter either way, stick them in the comment section. The other thing I really like about the Lady Comstock fight is first of all, it's quite a creative one. You know, the fact that she's kind of raising these guys back to life all the time and bringing it there. It kind of fits in nicely with that storyline arc of people being alive in one universe and dead in the other. You know, that's a really kind of nice link there. I mean, that is a bad guy based on that principle, but also the fact that Lady Comstock, in a sense, is a character throughout the entire game. You know, you never meet her; she's dead, but her image is everywhere. So, and you never actually expect that she's going to be an enemy because she's dead. She's not there. Oh God! Ouch!
Bring us the girl and wipe away the debt.
So it is always the Lutesses that take the child from us. In fact, to be more specific, it is the male Lutess, and if you listen to his voice, if you listen to the voice that screams through the door at any point, it is always him. Slightly different this time because she's here as well, but of course they're the same person. So there's
the girl and wipe away the debt.
and there's the link there. Now, of course, there's a separate link here, of course, because we've got the girl that's in that door, and of course we've got. And this is the first time that she's here, but of course she is actually the same girl. So it still kind of fits in terms of bring us the girl. And of course this time they're blocking the door, so you can't get through. Although you can look up their nose. Nose. But we have to leave through the crib door instead. Which we don't discover yet, but we do discover that whatever is in that door is what we are, what they have come for.
Stop it! Stop it! Don't hurt him! I'm sorry! I'm sorry. I never should have left. I never should have left. Take me back. Take me home. Please.
Elizabeth! I gotta catch up to her.
So we've got a few parallels there, of course. Her relationship with the songbird again comes to the fore. He is her prisoner and has a great deal of affection for her. I mean, she when she says sorry, when she calls him, that's the only thing that kind of stops his vengeance. But at the same time, he is her guardian, and she kind of hates him for that. But it does perhaps add more weight to the theory that Booker is, or the songbird is another version of Booker, or at least someone that has a at least someone that has a kind of close relationship with her. Those faces are so scary. Always reminds me of the faces in Superman 2, the judge scene right at the beginning with General Zod, or Superman 1 actually. Right. I guess we jump. Twice. Additionally, of course, the bit where Elizabeth reaches out to us is a complete parallel to the baby doing the same right at the end of the game. It's, you know, the same hand, same length, same finger sticking out.
I'm not letting you take her, you hear me? Ah, you feathered piece of shit! I'm not going to...
Now the argument goes.
It's July.
Well, no, not just the argument. We have travelled through a tear there, perhaps unknown to us. Booker hasn't really spotted what happened, but we had lots of those kind of tear images flickering all around at that point. And the reason why it suddenly changed to snow is because we have changed not necessarily place, but this time we have changed time. And thanks to our little founding father conversation earlier, we can see them all around us with the key, the scroll.
Elizabeth! Can
And
you
the
hear me?
sword.
Get your hands off of me!
And of course, walking past these tears here, we slowly realise, or is slowly revealed to us, that because this is a time far, far later, that Elizabeth has actually been kidnapped for many months, many hours, many years. In fact, it ends up being, and we weren't there for her.
Please, please.
Just checking around for some goodies. Now, why are we here? The argument goes that we are here because the older Elizabeth has kind of tried to summon us through time using what little kind of strength and power over the tears she has left, and she says later that it hurt her a great deal to do so.
Some men dream of money. Some men dream of love. My father dreamt of a flood of fire. We were given Eden, and we turned it into Sodom. Why do we deserve salvation? The Lord gave Noah a fish in the form of a flood, but he was not so easy on me. He said, "Prophet, I want you to train a nation of fishermen."
Now, I was initially wrong at this point on my first playthrough. I don't know what your thoughts were. Perhaps you could tell me in the comments section. But when I first walked through that door and saw this big statue here of Elizabeth, my first thought was actually that the whole game so far had been a ruse, and that Comstock had never existed at all, and that it was all Elizabeth, and the whole thing was some kind of, like, you know, she was the kind of the bad guy behind it all the way. Obviously, the time and the multi-universe thing hadn't been kind of fully revealed there, and the double booker. But do share with me your kind of thoughts about what you initially thought when the first time you walked through that door. Now, here we have the 4 crimes of Columbia. Why are certain the crimes that are seen as the worst? We have fornication. Now, of course, it isn't the act of adultery that is necessarily the problem so much as the mixed raceness of it. Although here we do have, I think that's 3 white people there. You can't quite tell because of the shadows. But obviously, being very religious, that's very, very important. But the mixed raceness is even more important. I think some of these people we actually walked past at the very beginning of the game. Like, a lot of these characters are recognisable, for example. Then we've got pacifism as a crime, and I think I mentioned this in a previous video. But for a lot of the early kind of Christians in America, being anti-violence and anti-war was seen as being anti-godly. A guy called John Stuart Mill, famous kind of philosophical writer, said that he absolutely hates war and he abhors war, but what he hates even more than war is people that are unwilling to fight for anything they believe in. And the irony being there that one of our pacifists actually becomes one of the hardest bad guys in the game. And again, some of these characters we have seen, we walked past. Anarchist, of course, would be anyone who is, oh gosh, that poor guy's there twice. I think he's a pacifist and an anarchist. How does that work? Anarchy being obviously kind of anti-state, the idea anti kind of law is unacceptable. And I guess heretic is, it traditionally kind of means like a blasphemer. It's spreading false prophecy, false religion in some way, or trying to bastardize or adapt existing religion. So perhaps they're guilty of questioning the prophet's judgment or the prophet's prophecies. So here we are with some brand new bad guys. These little kind of masked wonders that will not respond to being shot, punched, or anything unless I believe they're called Boys of Silence, who is the kind of eared monster on the other side of this little building here. Kind of spots this. Now, what's interesting is when you are spotted, he kind of explodes with some sort of tear-like rip. Obviously, while this is going on, we've got this horrible dialogue from Elizabeth going on, the kind of start of the kind of torture. It's quite disturbing, so I'm deliberately ignoring it here. But the way I've kind of interpreted these kind of Boys of Silence is that the guys that are just standing here are somewhat in a different universe or something, that they're not fully aware of us. But when he does that, all of them kind of get zapped and they all kind of suddenly become awake and aware. So my guess is that they have an existence somewhere in some universe at some time, and when they are awoken, or when that silent guy is awoken, they will all come to this particular universe ready to fight. Now, the reason the reason I would have for this is that in some of the Vox fans later, Elizabeth talks about these being creatures of her own creation. You know, she is the one behind these. And obviously, since she has complete control of the tears, it would stand to reason that she would create defences and creatures that kind of use those tears as their form of defence. But if you've got any theories on these guys, or you can direct me to any kind of web links where we can hear some more about them, then do let me know, and I'll discuss them in the future parts. But anyway, before we get to the end of this video, we've got about a few minutes left. I'd like to talk a little bit about those different types of ghost that could be the origin of that Lady Comstock creature. I mean, there's a few different types that I have been reading about. Obviously, you know, whether they're real or not, you could be the judge. I have to consider myself a skeptic on these, but within the realm of ghost hunting,
I gotta find a way in.
there are intelligent hauntings, which are like where a spiritual entity is kind of aware of what goes on in the world, and they can kind of see what's going on. They have like messages to pass on, and that would seem to fit with the kind of Lady Comstock angle, because she does communicate with Elizabeth. Then there are other kind of ghosts which are more like known as kind of playback ghosts.
I just want to see the girl.
I want to see the girl. Where they just kind of play back a single event over and over and over again. Now, in some ways, I guess the tears kind of feel a bit more like those kind of playback ideas. And then there's a kind of a third option, which is known as a residual haunting, which is where...
Just send me back to my tower.
Oh dear.
Too late for that now, child.
Poor Lizzie. Which is where like objects will kind of retain some sort of essence of the...
He's not my father.
He's not my father. I am all your fathers. Where objects kind of record some sort of element of the person left behind.
The siphon is a kind of leash. Yes, my father put it on me. But when the time came, neither did I remove it myself. What would happen if I took off the leash? And I found I was as obedient as ever.
Now, there is plenty to discuss with this new version of Elizabeth, but we are out of time. So as we ascend this lift into this new area, I feel that I shall ring the division bell upon this particular episode. Please give the video a like if you have enjoyed this bit of commentary, and do subscribe to the channel if you are not yet an avid watcher of TheAdiposeTV. Thank you so much for joining me on this little adventure. Take care, and I will see you soon.